This is the title page. The need and process of making this book is illustrated on this page. This book is dedicated to my beloved parents. Source of inspiration is also given. Contents and page numbers are given. Message to readers. This book is a book on spirituality. It is extensively dealt with on what is life, who is God, and how we can make our lives better using the concept of spirituality. It is usually a misconception in today's world that one has to think about spirituality in the latter part of life. It is not true. Spirituality helps in the following: 1. Improved performance with better concentration. 2. Overcoming greed and other evils of behavior with contentment. 3. Ability to take challenges in life head on with self confidence and determination. 4. Maintain a balanced mind with success and failure with a serene mind. 5. Keeps health in good and fit condition with enthusiasm all the day and 24/7. Well, these are some of the positive aspects associated with knowledge and practice of spirituality. So to say, spirituality is a way of living and value of life. Though we are aware that abundant material is available in our literature about spirituality and God, the intent of making this book is to enable easy understanding for a common person. Presentation is made with images, logical framework, and quotes which make this book unique in methodology of communication on subject item. I suppose this book will give more inputs to readers who have affinity towards this subject and for those who take this subject serious enough for a patient reading. To those who wish, my personal contact details are provided in page number 46 in this book. This book does not have any intention of hurting the sentiments of anyone or any group of people. Sincerely wish a useful reading. Me, Buddhi Sivaramudu, author of this book. Now, the outline of this book. Let us understand what life is in the first place. To my understanding and perception, three things are required for formation of life. They are: 1. Consciousness, that is static entity, material dynamic entity, and conditions of existence and conditions for existence. This universe is full of both consciousness, which is immaterial, and material. Material exists in both gross form and also in subtle form. Material here means both matter and energy put together. Both material and consciousness have a high degree of affinity to combine, and when favorable conditions exist, they combine, and that combination emerges as life. When life forms, it takes a condition of existence, say a bird. That life sustains as long as the favorable conditions continue to exist. Some examples of favorable condition are temperature, availability of oxygen, pressure, etc. Favorable conditions vary depending on nature of existence. There is life dwelling at ultra hot and cold temperature conditions as their favorable conditions for existence. Similarly, some life can survive only in water, some only in land, and a few in both. The moment the favorable conditions cease to exist, consciousness detaches from material, and this detachment we call it as death. When seed material of human beings, both mother and father, combines with consciousness under favorable conditions in the womb of mother, it forms individual life, and the condition of existence is called human being. Similarly, there are millions of existences we see in kingdom of life, such as plant kingdom and animal kingdom of this world. So far, mankind has not found life elsewhere in the universe. The purpose of life is evolution of consciousness to reach ultimately supreme level of consciousness. Consciousness evolves or diminishes apparently in the transmigration cycle. There is also an imperative need to know who is the unseen force behind the existence of this world we live, and also the universe which is boundless and beyond the comprehension of all of us. The same is dealt with extensively in this book. The real content of this book starts from here. We are going to dwell upon who is God. We often pray God, think and talk about Him. Yet, everybody has his own imagination about God according to their beliefs, likes, circumstances, and knowledge levels. Sometimes God is termed as infinite, and you all know that human mind is limited. So, an attempt is made to describe infinity with the limitations of our mind. Because of this and inherent variability of our minds, there can be different ways or approaches and descriptions about God. Yet, every description fits in infinity, and one such attempt is made here to describe God. One of the greatest descriptions about God I have come across is a Telugu poem. My effort will be to describe this poem in greater detail, taking it as the reference. The author of this poem, Vammara Potana, is a great Telugu poet, lived in the period year 1450 to 1510, best known for his translation of Bhagavata Purana in Sanskrit to Telugu. The poem is as below. యవ్వని చే జనించు జగము యవ్వని లోపల నుండు లీనమై యవ్వని అందుడిందు పరమేశ్వరుడెవ్వడు మూల కారణం బెవ్వడు అనాది మధ్యలయుడెవ్వడు సర్వము తానైన వాడెవ్వడు వాని నాత్మభవున్ ఈశ్వరునే శరణంబు వేడదన్. The same poem put in English and also translated in English. The above poem will be used part by part for deliberating on the intent and essence in order to give greater details about Almighty or God as we call it. యవ్వని చే జనించు జగము is first part of the poem, meaning on whose order this universe was born. Well, Jagamu generally means the world, but here the word stands for universe. The world means earth we live, and this word world is misused by many people. For example, we see a boat called Food World, which will be in a small building. The word Jagamu comprises of three things. They are: 1. Andamu means egg or microscopic scale. 2. Pindamu, the normal scale. 3. Brahmandamu, macro or cosmic scale. Not going into too much details or the literal meaning of each of them, I would simply classify as below, which is not far from truth. Andamu, the smallest. God has given us eyes to see, but with limited range or capability. So, there are many things which exist, but we cannot see them directly. This is what is called miniature world, which we can see with only microscope. The greater the power of the microscope, smaller the things we can see. Electron microscopes are powerful tools to view the miniature world. Literature reveals that science has advanced to see miniature world up to the order of 10 power minus 18. That is, an object is magnified to million into million into million times. The diagram you are seeing there shows that a quark is the smallest particle as of now, and gluon is the binding force which binds the quarks together, and nucleon is made of the quarks, either a proton or a neutron, and these are at the center of the nucleus, which forms the nucleus, and the nucleus is at the center of the atom with electrons orbiting around, and atoms form part of molecule, and many molecules make a solid. This is how the build-up of microscopic items comes to what we see as a solid. You see in the box the scientific explanation given on the above diagram, what we have already seen, and below that is a diagram on logarithmic scale. It's a representation of size. Well, these are some of the miniature world pictures, microscopic level. 10 power 0 is actual size, and it is magnified accordingly as shown in the pictures. Here, Andamu also means the egg, I said. In other words, it can also mean the fundamental particle or originating particle, smallest particle with which the universe is made. Now we are going to see what is Brahmandamu, that is the cosmic scale. This is on the opposite side of miniature world which we have seen. In other words, this is the biggest things which are in the cosmic scale. We all see sky, stars and many more. Sometimes we wonder how big the sky is. A little knowledge on the cosmos can make us know how big it is. According to literature, scientific community has advanced to see or study cosmos to the order of 10 power 27 times on the bigger side. There are galaxies, galaxy clusters, local group of clusters and superclusters in our so-called universe. To understand how big our universe is, we should understand about light year. This is because the size of the universe is measured by scientific community in terms of light years. Like millimeter to kilometer used by us for measuring distances, light year is used for measuring vast distance from Earth to stars and between stars in the cosmos. We know that light takes 8 minutes 20 seconds to reach Earth from the sun. Like this, if light continue to travel at the same speed for 1 year, that distance or size is called 1 year. You can see the diagram below, the distance ladder in astronomy. You see, one astronomical unit is distance from Earth to Sun. That is about 14 crores 96 lakhs kilometers. So, you see the diagram from Earth to Sun, nearby stars, then Milky Way, then nearby galaxies, galaxy clusters and so on. So, by now you know what is 1 light year and how much is the distance. In other words, 1 light year is 63 1239 times the distance between Sun and Earth. Having known what is 1 light year, the size of the universe is estimated to be 13.77 billion light years by scientific community with all the current advancement in science. That means scientists can see or estimate up to that distance, and it does not mean that it is the end of the universe, but is only observable universe at this point of time. Now you can see a diagram there which tries to compare the speed. You see from bullock cart to a car, aeroplane, and then supersonic aeroplane, and then spacecraft, and then it goes to speed of light, speed of mind, and speed of Atman. So it gives just a comparison of speed. What is the light speed and what is our spacecraft speed? Speed of light is 299,792 kilometers per second, whereas speed of Cassini is estimated to be from anywhere between 6 to 20 kilometers per second. Now, with the speed of light and the speed of spacecraft, NASA's Juno probe, which is supposedly highest technological development, is roughly 74 kilometers per second. This works out only to 0.025% of the speed of light. That means the current spacecraft will take roughly 4051 years to reach 1 light year distance. I repeat, that means the current spacecraft at that speed will take roughly 4051 years to reach 1 light year distance. The nearest star is at a distance of 4.22 light years. So there is no way with current technology we can reach the nearest star in near future. There are stars in galaxies which are billions of light years away from us. That is the magnitude of the so-called universe. It is believed that human mind can travel faster than light, and our sages use their mind to travel to other worlds as per our Hindu mythology. Our ancient scholars made a lot of studies in astronomy and astrology when even bullock carts were not available for transportation in land. The well-known example of linking astronomy and astrology is Panchangam. I think all of you are familiar with Panchangam. The diagram you see there is our galaxy, the Milky Way. You can see the sun's location in the Orion arm. You see various arms there in the Milky Way. You see a small line representing 10,000 light years. It's a small distance in the Milky Way which represents 10,000 light years. You can imagine how big is the Milky Way. And Milky Way is one of the galaxies in local cluster. So this is just to give a representation of how big is our galaxy, which is Milky Way. As I said, the nearest star is Alpha Centauri at a distance of 4.22 light years. Now, when there is No scientific development and only religious belief was ruling the world. People believed that sun and all stars in the sky is revolving around the earth and that earth is the center of everything. With advancement of science frontiers, the earlier belief is disproved. It is obvious with all the scientific development in astronomy that earth is a planet in solar system and that earth rotates around the sun. All planets of the solar system rotate around the sun at the center. As we see in the picture, we are very far away from the center of our galaxy. In the picture you see on the top you see earth with moon, that is moon revolving around the earth, and the bottommost you see the solar system where earth is also shown in the solar system. Then at the center you see a telescopic arrangement from 10 power 0 to 10 power 27, up to which the astronomical pictures are available in our literature, as I know. And starting with earth, you see the Milky Way, which is represented in an arrow, and then it goes to galaxy, local clusters, superclusters, and then finally the universe. So earlier we have seen Milky Way. Now you can see how much you have to how much bigger our universe than our Milky Way. It's just beyond the imagination. So I am trying to give a picture how big is our universe. And this is on a cosmic scale, as I have said, it is Brahmandamu. Now we must appreciate that it is beyond the capability of human mind in general to imagine the universe in both directions, small and big. Both small and big scales defined as above or through advancement in science is not the end of it, but the journey continues with further advancement. Moreover, what we have seen above is with respect to one of the many qualities of the universe, namely the dimension or size. There are many other qualities such as diversity, laws of nature, orderliness in the universe, and many more. We have seen Andamu and Brahmandamu, which are smallest and the biggest. Now we are going to see Pindamu, that is the scale in our domain. This is the scale between which is between Andamu and Brahmandamu. The scale in which we can see or reach, perceive and play. When we are in mother's womb, we are called Pindamu. This has materialized through fertilization of egg and sperm. The crux of this is that we thrive in cosmos, which is very big, yet we live with what is very small and we are in between. By principle of nature, it is obvious that the biggest has been made by the smallest and the smallest has originated first. Now, science tells us that energy or matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Naturally, a question arises in our mind: how come there is energy and matter within us and all around pervading in the entire universe. In fact, we are also made of this material and thrive through energy. Who is responsible for making all this material and energy in the first place beyond the rules of science? Naturally, it should be the work of a supernatural being. We may call it by any name or give any form to it. To substantiate it, let us say we see a building. How is that we see that building in the place it is? At the first place, somebody should have thought about constructing a building, and this thinking should have generated in his mind. Then the building has materialized, fulfilling the person's need or desire or purpose. So, what I mean to say is that everything we see around us, that which is man-made, it is implied that an idea has been generated in somebody's mind and subsequently the same has materialized to fulfill a purpose. So, when we see something man made, we also see an idea generated in the mind and we also see a purpose for which it is made. Taking the same analogy, when the universe is created, the idea for the same is generated first in the mind of creator and he also knows the purpose for which it is created. Creating such a vast universe is beyond the imagination of human being, who is termed as the most intelligent animal in the world and can be the work of a supernatural being only, and we portray him as God. Look at this picture. It gives various levels of intelligence. The heading given is a product of intelligence. What do we mean by product of intelligence is who created it. So, intelligence evolves as consciousness evolves. We see a spider uses its intelligence to build a cobweb. Sometimes we wonder the artistic way the spider goes on to build its nest. We also know ants expresses its intelligence by molding sand mounds, and also through storage of food for winter well in advance. Next comes a bird uses its intelligence to build a nest to lay eggs and protect its offsprings. A human being demonstrates intelligence by making robots which can carry out an assigned task. Now, with all this, we can imagine how much intelligence is required to make a human being. We simply cannot understand the potential of universal intelligence. Knowledge is a product of intelligence and experience, we all know that. So, we have to know the potential of the supernatural power who has created the man, how much intelligence the universal intelligence must be. If you happen to visit any zoo, you can see and admire the grandeur of design capabilities of Almighty. So many species are there, each different shape, natural colors, different properties, different habits, day living, night living animals, land and waterborne animals, some crawling, some running, and some flying. It is surely an astonishing capability of the intelligence of God. We, on the other hand, think big and we do not know what is happening in our body. We simply eat all the stuff and do not even care to know how it is converted into energy. I do not mean to say that we do not use our intelligence.
Next to God, only we have the highest intelligence. But unfortunately, we are too much attached with the worldly pleasures and we are too busy to think about our true nature. It is better that we understand this, that at some point of time we have to give up these worldly pleasures, or else it will be forcefully taken away from us either due to old age or at the time of death, and nothing is permanent in this world. Now we are going to the second part of the poem. We have completed the first part, Yavvani Chejaninchu Jagamu. Now, second part of the poem, Yavvani Lopala Nundu Linamai. The meaning of it is, in whom the universe cohesively exists. We have seen earlier that one of the ways the Almighty God is defined as infinity. We all know infinity itself means boundless, and by chance, if anything can be defined by boundaries, it is not an infinity. Since the known universe is defined by boundaries in terms of 13.77 billions of light years approximately, according to scientific community, God defined as infinity is both the universe and also beyond the universe, the horizons of which we do not know. So, unless we understand ourselves first, we cannot understand who is God. We have to understand what this word I stands for. We regularly use these words like I, my, our, etc. When we say I, it represents material part which constitutes the physical body, mind, intellect, and energy, that is prana under our control within body. And I also represents the non-material, that is immaterial part. The essential difference is, while any form of material, that is matter and energy, however subtle it may be, undergoes transformation. That is, material is changeable, whereas immaterial is the most subtle and is never transformed and always remains the same. Its identity is permanent or changeless.
This is what we call it as the most fundamental to life, and soul is the name given to it. We can also call it as consciousness. As I said earlier, it is imperative to know ourselves first before trying to know about God. You see in the picture our true self. There is a representation from gross to finest in the horizontal scale, and changeable to unchangeable. That is, you see human body, mind, prana, buddhi, which are changeable, and the unchangeable is atma or soul or consciousness. Different things are given different icons, as I have chosen to be the best option. Now, basically, we are comprised of something gross, something fine, and something which is superfine. Our physical body is gross, that is material, matter form, and easily perceivable. The next to that is prana, which is finer,
than physical body but grosser than mind. Prana manifests in both gross and fine forms. All physical movements, functioning of all our organs and senses are an act of prana. Respiration, digestion, and all activities, including thought generation, happen only due to prana. That's why we say when we die, the prana has gone. That means the prana which is under our control has gone. The next one is mind, which is finer than prana but grosser than intelligence. That is buddhi. Intelligence is also called buddhi. Mind is very fragile and always on the move. It is believed that it is the mind which generates the thought, and brain is a control power for all the body functions. Mind is master of five senses and also brain.
It is the mind which kindles ego, that is, I, my, we, and all that. Mind is also material which is subtle. The next in the hierarchy is intelligence. This discriminates between good and bad and keep constantly advising the mind. This is the trait which makes human beings special. Intelligence is finer than mind but gross compared to soul. Intelligence is also material which is more subtle. Now, the highest order in the order is Atman or soul, which is immaterial, or maybe it can be maybe super fine material also. This Atman acts as a witness to all others, and all others work for the sake of this entity. Anchoring is taken by all the above with soul, which is self-effulgent, while others are not. Soul is self-driven, whereas all others anchor on soul. All the above things are dealt with in greater detail in subsequent chapters. In general, we can see that all forms of life are made with a combination of both material and immaterial parts. Material part is a dynamic entity, as I have said earlier, and immaterial part is static in nature. Since we know life exists only on earth, as our knowledge at this point of time goes that far only, let us confine our focus to life on earth. It is stated that more than 1 million species are spotted so far. Now we are going to see what is the dominance, which is more, which is better. First we will see what is the material dominance. Some species are attributed with less material and lower level of consciousness. We see that less material means less dominance on the material front. For example, a frog has to run for shelter on seeing a snake, since a frog is much smaller in size compared to the snake. Earth rotates around the sun, as Earth has less mass compared to sun. So, taking into account the material front only, life with less material power always has to give way to life with more material power. This is the order of nature.
The picture depicted here is further to what we have seen as the material dominance. In the picture, you see a worm has to run seeing a chick has to run seeing a cat has to run seeing you. You do not have to run if you ignore your mind. As you know, strong prevails over weak by nature. We all see that. So, if you have a strong mind, you can definitely, you are in a better command. This is what I wanted to communicate through this picture. Now, we have seen on the material front. Now, what is the dominance of the consciousness level of consciousness? Coming to consciousness, life with more evolved consciousness always have a say over life with less evolved consciousness. For example, a bird which has a higher level of consciousness uses a tree, though the tree has massive material compared with bird. But ultimately, it is the combination of material power and the level of consciousness a life possesses that makes it superior and more dominant in the world. Human being, though having less material compared to many life forms, since it has highly evolved level of consciousness, the world is ruled by us. We must remember that there has to be an entity with huge amount of material and highest level of consciousness, and naturally we have to bow before that entity since it is superior to us both in material and consciousness. We name that entity as God, and we are being held accountable for everything what we do in His kingdom.